What's up, everyone? My name is Tyler. You are watching Mom's Basement MMA, and today I have a very special guest. He is a MMA analyst with Fight Sports, and you can occasionally catch him on the mic, where he is a play-by-play man for Flex Fighting Series. Mr. Charlie Quinn joins me today. Charlie, welcome to the program. Thank you for the time. I really appreciate it. I gave you no notice to do this, and we're talking the day after the 4th of July, so I appreciate the time, my man.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, I don't give a shit to be here anytime, any place. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. And I wanted to kick it off by asking you, you were just in Las Vegas for UFC 303 International Fight Week. Tell me about what that experience was like. Tell me a little bit about some of the interviews that you managed to capture over International Fight Week, because I think that's a pretty interesting event to be a part of. Yeah,
I mean, it was a great event. Fight night itself was hectic as expected. You know, a little more hectic than most people did expect with the Dan Ige, coming in out of nowhere, saving the day. That was pretty crazy. As far as fight week ahead of time, it was good. It wasn't easy. It was a little difficult working with UFC PR for the first time. They were very helpful though. Eventually, once you get to know them, they get to know you. There's a million things going on. First set of interviews they had for the day was Sean Strickland, so they were probably a little on edge, which looking back makes immense amount of sense. Makes a ton of sense. But it was good. I mean, I got some quality content, some good interviews. Got John Blachowicz, Adrian Yanez, Charlie Campbell, Mark Coleman, legend, bunch of big names, Jalen Turner, Dustin Jacoby. Good experience. Raul Rosas. It was a good experience as far as, getting interviews in a certain amount of time frame, 4 to 5 minutes. I don't really love that, but, I mean, it's a learning curve. I hate scrums. Drive me insane. Not a fan of scrums. You get a lot of people who just jump the line and special treatment. But the interview sessions were, they were good. I can't really complain. Most of them were good. We'll say most. But yeah, it was an experience for sure. And meeting other media guys and meeting other creators and stuff like that was definitely really helpful. And as far as branding and stuff like that for Fight Sports, my personal, for everything, it was just all in all a good experience, definitely.
Can you tell me a little bit, what are some of the do's and don'ts of covering live events? I legitimately think a lot of people don't know, and to hear it from somebody like you would, I think, be a good thing to hear.
I mean, I think obviously don't be a fanboy. That's the number one thing. Don't act like you've been there. Treat the fighters as if it's a job. They don't want to deal with fans at work. I mean, obviously some fighters will have relationships with reporters or media. I mean, that's normal. When you're around guys a certain amount of times, eventually, you start to talk, start to click. But there's a fine line between professionalism and, favoritism. Don't yell in the crowd. Don't jump up and down when people are, you're friendly with or fighting. I actually made that mistake once. Shane Burgos was fighting, and Tiger Schulman guy, obviously, not nearly. I trained Tiger Schulman. I'm not going to act like I'm, Brock Lesnar, sure. Tiger Schulman. I'm not going to claim it you know what I mean? Like I'm one of them, but yeah, I trained there. But yeah, I was going nuts. Didn't really read the room, and then people were kind of looking at me. I was like, all right, this is definitely not something you do. And then I went back to another event. Someone was doing it, and someone said something to him, and I've been in group chats with people, and they've said they've received emails from media and stuff like that, from some promotions, and being told not to do that or you won't be welcome back. There's just right and wrong ways to go about it. I mean, it's just professionalism. I mean, I worked at Sports Illustrated for a couple of years, so I kind of learned the professionalism side of that before I got into the media world. So I kind of have a head start on that. But a big thing for me is, I mean, as I'm sitting here in t-shirt and shorts, I dress not to the nine, but you got to dress nice if you're going to cover an event. You got to have at least a pair of khakis, a pair of jeans, a pair of dress pants, something like that on, where you have a polo. Even if you want to wear a t-shirt, nice shirt, but you got to have some sort of dress pants, dress shoes, or dress the part. Nobody wants to be interviewed in a guy in a hoodie and a hoodie and a hat. You know what I mean? It's just, unless you're doing the lowest of low level regional promotions, that's where anything goes. But if you're trying to put yourself out there, I mean, dress the part. That's the number one thing. The look is, you know how it is. Don't don't judge a book by its cover, but you know how it is. First look is everything.
I also think that as far as media coverage is concerned, it's at a bit of a crossroads, right? Because if we're talking about media, if that's like the primary focus of an event, something bad happened, right? Because nobody's going to say, Charlie Quinn, oh my God, this guy is like so freaking great, dude. He crushed the interview. Oh my God, I'm going to write an article about Charlie Quinn. If somebody's writing an article about you because of how you covered an event, it's for a not so good reason, right? We're hearing instances about guys grabbing Derek Lewis's nut cup and having Dana White sign it. We're talking about the branding chick not that long ago. And I feel like we're at a crossroads here. Like there's a clash between like traditional media, how the ethics and the conduct part of it that you described, and then this like influencer, not quite media people. I don't really know exactly what it is that they are, but they're like coming out to these events and getting attention. Can you tell me a little bit like what's your reaction to all that, and does that make your job a lot more difficult from a traditional standpoint?
I mean, I'm kind of at a crossroads with it because I'm not a part of it, but like I'm closer to that than I am being a journalist. I don't claim to be a journalist by any means. I'm close. I call myself a content creator, so I'm closer to that realm than I am to the journalist realm.
Mm-hmm.
I just so happen to know what I'm doing in the least arrogant way possible. I ask questions that aren't recycled. I don't love it because that's not my full thing. I'm not a gimmick, you know what I mean? I call myself a content creator because I make videos and I go to gyms and stuff like that. I don't really do interviews on Zoom. I don't really do them like that. So it's a different type of style, I guess. But I don't love it. I mean, how could you? I mean, people are getting handed platforms that, they take their platforms and quadruple it and screw over people like us who do the work and do the homework. People are having their questions written for them.
So, Charlie, one of the things I wanted to ask you is I feel like we're at a transitory stage as far as the UFC is concerned. Like some of the names, the biggest stars of the UFC, the Charles Oliveira's, the Conor McGregor's, the Dustin Poirier's, getting ready to enter that twilight stage of their career. Do you think we're going to see a new big superstar kind of take over and become the new face of the UFC over the next 24 months?
I think we already have one. We have Sean O'Malley. I mean, I think that he's for sure the star. I mean, the numbers might not line up pay-per-view wise as they line up on social media, but he's the guy. I mean, don't make no mistake. I mean, he's 100% going to be the guy moving forward unless, of course, he loses. That being said, I mean, he hasn't shown any reason why he would lose. So, I mean, I think he's the guy moving forward. Got guys like Peyton Talbot coming up the ranks who, he's only fought a couple times, but when you know what I mean. So it doesn't sound like great analysis, but like when you see something, you kind of know. I was all over Ilya Topuria to beat Alex Volkanovski. I was all over him to be a big time star. I disagree. I'm rescinding my words. I'm taking a couple steps back on that. It's no disrespect to him. It's just when you wait this long and you hold the belt for this long, you don't fight. I mean, it starts to eat you up a little bit. You start to feel like the man. You start to feel, which is great. I mean, you're supposed to be confident in MMA, but I just feel like it's like the opposite of the lights being too bright. It feels like he's going to lose to Max Holloway if he fights Max Holloway. I just get that weird feeling where, Holloway probably a better technical striker, but the power is coming back through the right hand of Topuria. Max has really never been clipped like that, so that game plan might not work. Many have tried. Even McGregor, when he fought him, it was a wrestling match. I think the sport's in good hands. I think the guys coming to the ranks are really good. I mean, Alex Pineda's probably on his way out, even though he just got in, but he's been great for the sport. More of guys who are accomplished outside of the UFC, I'd like to see, and less of the BS gimmicks and your traditional, regional 7-3 guy coming to the ring. You know what I mean? We'll start giving these regional guys when they're 2-3-0 and start promoting them. You do it with guys like Bo Nickel. You know what I mean? Like, why not just do it with everybody at that point?
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
If the kid's that good and he's 2-3-0, why baby them through the regional and just bring them up?
Yeah,
it's starting to happen in baseball and basketball. You start to see 18, 19-year-old kids. Well, I get it's a completely different game, but why not? Look at Rosas. I mean, look at Peyton Talbot. I mean,
And I also feel like the explosion of the popularity in the UFC, like I remember what it used to be like pre-pandemic, and then during the pandemic, it was kind of like the only game and show. And now, like, I still feel like they're riding like kind of like the high waves of the pandemic. A lot of new fans kind of started paying attention to the UFC as a result of that. I thought the UFC was at the perfect place, the perfect time to really capitalize on that popularity. But I do think it's fair to say that despite it kind of leveling up, despite more and more people starting to tune in, that there's definitely some things that they could do a little bit better. And I'm curious, Charlie, if you were Dana White and if you were running this show, what are some of the changes to the UFC that you would deliver? What are some of the improvements that you would try to make to the UFC?
it's a tough question. It's a good question, honestly. From the marketing side of it, they kill it. I mean, I don't think there's anything. I think they're the best of the best for a reason. I think pretty much everything they do is to a T. You know, I would obviously like to see less of the Apex, but most fans would. But a side of me loves the Apex because you hear everything. You know, it's a little bit different. You hear every strike. You hear the coaches. So like, the nerd in me loves the Apex, but you know, the fan in me loves the arena. But I mean, I was at 303. I didn't love the feeling there. Outside of the main event, it didn't feel crazy. Even the Ige Lopez fight, everybody was saying how nuts it was. Obviously, it was sick. You know, everything about it was cool, but it was like really wasn't that like the arena wasn't that electric. Nothing compares to MSG. So I mean, I might be biased, but it wasn't that electric. I would like to see more of the boxing guys in the seats. I think instead of cross promoting, like, and having these guys fight each other, there should be more boxing stars at the UFC events. UFC guys go to boxing fights, they go to Canelo fights all the time. Why don't we ever see a Canelo or a guy like that in the crowd? You know, it has nothing to do with fighting. It's just that's like a marketing aspect of it.
Sure.
I don't get that. I never understood that. Why, you know, they don't support. It's weird. I think from a matchmaking standpoint, I'd like to see them just go all in on the, you know, best versus best. Enough with the lollygagging and the, you know, babysitting everybody up the rankings. Just put these guys against whoever. They did it to Rosas. You know, they put him against a killer, and people wanted to act like it wasn't a tough fight. Like, that's what you have to do. Because otherwise he was going to be a lay and pray guy for the rest of his career if you just let him, you know, submit everybody his first 3-4 fights. Like, gotta make him work. Gotta make him earn it. Gotta make him work a little bit. You know, I like that mold a lot more than what they're trying to do with Paddy Pimblett. You know, Paddy's getting up there in age. I mean, that gimmick went quick. You know, I feel like he's a little forgotten now. A lot of people don't really talk about him anymore. And he's fighting next week. I think he's gonna win. Not next week, July 27th. But I think he's gonna win. But do you think he's world champion material?
No, I don't think anyone does. I mean, I do agree with you, though. I do think he'll beat Bobby Green. I think that's a matchup that I think they've engineered that matchup intentionally to try to get him a win, and they're very strategic about how they do that.
Like, promoting him very, very carefully.
Yeah.
It's very differently than everybody else in the promotion. Whether anybody wants to say it or not, it's the truth.
Yeah, and we do remember that it wasn't that long ago where the UFC definitely did their part to kind of fan the flames on that whole Ilya Topuria rivalry, and then we found out real quick what Ilya was about, and then nary a peep anymore. No one talks about that. It's just the fans. It's just people like us that, you know, stoke the flames on that one. But when Paddy says something about Ilya, you know, they don't want that fight. They don't want that fight to happen. I don't think we'll ever see it. Let's transition over to, since we're talking about it, UFC 304. That's right around the corner. Let's talk about that. Leon Edwards going up against Bilal Muhammad. And then, of course, we have in the co-main event, Tom Aspinall, and he'll be going up against Curtis Blades. Tell me who do you think are going to win those two fights? How do you see those ones going?
I mean, I think Aspinall is going to struggle with Blades. I really do. I think he's really good, really talented, but if he doesn't get him out of there early, it's gonna be a tough fight because Curtis is, you know, whether he likes to wrestle or not, he has it. So I'd like to see him use it. I know Tom's a good grappler, but I'd still like to, you know, see it. You know, that's a good stylistic matchup. We lost it in the first, I think, like 30 seconds the last time. Aspinall hurt his knee. I was on Blades that time. I'll probably be on Blades this go around. Leon, think he's crisp, man. I think he's a tremendous striker. I think he has all the tools to be, one of those upper echelon kickboxers. As far as this matchup, I don't love it for him.
You think Bilal will take it?
I really think that, Bilal has a really good shot here. I think that the line is weird, and I think that Leon really showed some really good, grappling skills against Colby. He really shut down his wrestling. I think Bilal's a different type of wrestler. I think he's a different type of cardio pace guy. He's very underrated because people think he's cringy and people think he sucks. It's like, the fun thing is, the cool thing is to hate him. Like, I partake sometimes. It's pretty funny. But at the end of the day, like, he is a really good fighter. He trains with Habib. I mean, what he did to Sean Brady was very impressive. I know a lot of people might say Sean might have been hurt. He might have been banged up. Guys get into fights banged up all the time. I think Sean Brady's a really, really impressive fighter. I think he's going to make a good comeback and turnaround. That being said, he walked through him, and I was shocked.
So we got 2 upset specials potentially for you're calling for UFC 303.
That line might close at even money.
Well, there you go.
Line. I think it might close at even money, and I think Patty Pimblett's pick of the week. How could it not be?
We're going to cap off the summer UFC 305, and they just announced that the main event, it's going to be Israel Adesanya. He'll be challenging Dricus du Plessis.
Easy.
Does Izzy have a chance here, or is Dricus going to smoke him?
Dricus might as well stay home.
Oh, okay.
He might as well stay home. Izzy's going to walk through him. We're going to see an Izzy we haven't seen since he was younger. We're going to see a hungry version of Izzy, a healthy version of Izzy who took a ton of time off, both physically and mentally. He needed mental time off more than anything with all those wars with Alex Pereira and the preparation. And, it had to be exhausting to go through all that. And then, he took the Sean Strickland fight, which was, in his eyes, a gimme, which was kind of a joke fight. And, he most definitely overlooked him, obviously, with the DUI and everything a couple weeks ahead of time. Listen, it's a fight game where people do that, and then you get guys like John Jones who were on benders the week before and win. So, I mean, anything can happen. It's not an excuse. Guys make mistakes all the time. That being said, you can quote me, I don't see a world where Israel Adesanya loses to Dricus du Plessis. I don't see a possibility. I just don't. I do not see a possibility whatsoever. I think his striking is way too clean and way too crisp for him. I think, obviously Dricus has a good ground game, and he is a good striker, and he's a little more of a sloppy striker. He's more of a scrappy, to the body type of guy. I think it's levels to it. I think if Izzy never lost to Sean Strickland, this is going to sound crazy to say, obviously. If he never lost to Sean Strickland, we wouldn't even be debating this. Mm-hmm. If he did what he was supposed to do that night, or if he even never fought that night, I don't think there would be even a conversation right now.
Charlie, were you surprised at the announcement for this matchup? Are you surprised that Strickland never really got an opportunity to fight Dricus after the split decision loss?
Not really. Honestly, it's a business. It's an entertainment business, and that fight doesn't sell. This one does. Mm-hmm. This was the fight we all wanted to see. Let's call a spade a spade. Strickland had the best night of his life. He's a good fighter. If he could replicate that again, which many people think he beat du Plessis, he might have. It depends who you ask. I'm not throwing shade at Sean Strickland, but this was not supposed to happen by any means in any of their eyes. So they threw the champ against, I think he was like number 9, like number 10. Like he was not a big ranked fighter, and they threw him in there, and he got it done. He threw a wrinkle into everybody's plans. But in the UFC's eyes, I would say luckily that Dricus beat Sean, and they get the match that they wanted. And yeah, a guy like Izzy has been a champion forever. He's fought for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, he's fought on such quick turnarounds and just stayed active that only guys like him and Alex Volkanovski really do. Give him his respect. He's lost on. You could probably count on 2 hands how many times he's lost in his combat sports career, whether it was boxing, kickboxing, or MMA. Guy's earned his keep. I mean, he should not have to fight one of these contenders or something like that to get back into the ring. I mean, we're talking about Israel Adesanya. It's crazy. I don't like that notion. I hate that people think he's getting gifted it. He did the promotion a favor by fighting Sean Strickland. Whether you want to agree with it or not, it's the truth. Mm-hmm. Whether he did it for his ego or he did it for the promotion, he still did it. And this is an entertainment business. This is the fight we all want to see. This is the fight we need to see. Izzy's going to come back. He's going to beat Dricus. He's going to face Sean Strickland in a rematch. He's going to beat Sean Strickland. He's going to retire. That's it. Nothing else to do. That's my opinion. That's my. You can quote me on that. We'll come back to this in a year or 8 months, 6 months when it's true. And that's all I got for you.
Charlie, I had one final question for you. Obviously, going into International Fight Week, we had been talking about Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor. This has been one of the most hyped up fights that we've been hearing about for a long time, of course. Unfortunately, that fight never ends up happening. McGregor is forced off the card with an injury. Where do you make of all that? Do you think we're ever going to see that fight? Tell me your thoughts on that matchup. Does it ever happen?
I think we'll see it. I think it's the last winnable matchup for McGregor in the 55-70 range. You know what I mean? Not in the 70 range, but in the 55 division, I'd say, like as far as premier guys. I think that Chandler is way too erratic. I think Conor's style is perfect. You know, to fight a guy like that, it's reminiscent of when he fought Eddie Alvarez. I think we'll see it, maybe late fall. I think we'll definitely see it. I think we'll see Conor, you know, at his best. As far as how we've seen him in the past couple fights, I think we'll, you know, it's very reminiscent to me of the Eddie Alvarez fight, you know, with, you know, the wrestling and, you know, the no patience and, you know, brawl type style. I mean, those two guys, they fought as well many times. I think we'll see it. I think Conor will walk through him. I think after that, we'll either see a Conor title shot or Conor will lose and we'll see him fight Nate Diaz and then he'll go box. I think if Conor wins and he gets a title shot, either way, he's going to go box. I can't imagine he's going to leave $300 to $500 million on the table from the Saudis. I think that'd be crazy. But I don't know. Maybe you should X some of the fanboys that, you know, maybe you could X some of them, you know?
Well, there we have it. Charlie, I appreciate your time this afternoon. It was a pleasure to have you on the program. I wanted to give you the last word. If there's anything that you wanted to talk about or plug before we conclude, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, just go follow Fight Sports, see the new journey. You know, I'm working with a company now, you know, big combat sports company. You know, hopefully we keep growing this page in the right direction like we have. And another message, quit fanboying to all the fans. You know, a little fanboy enough. And if you're in my mentions being a dick, keep doing it. It drives up, you know, it drives it up. That's all it does is drive engagement up. I can care less. That's all I got for you. That and, you know, the kids just stop being fanboys, man. There's some of them. If you think I'm talking about you, that's just you either being insecure or I'm right. I'm not gonna name names. I'm not gonna name any names. If you think I'm talking about you, that's a you problem. I'm not talking about a specific person. We're seeing it too much. Like, get guys like Sneeko out of, not Sneeko, even him probably. Who's the dickhead from the other day? Neon. Get Neon out of here. Like, there's no place for guys like that. If you want to be a content creator, you want to come in, you want to do the Mike Mahalik route. You know, he's with Karate Combat. I think that's how you say his name. Good job. You're doing a good job. I like guys like that. Don't be like Neon. That's the only word I can give you. Don't be like Neon. You want to get into MMA. You want to get into journalism. You want to get into content creation. You want to get into interviews. You want to get into being a normal person, a good human. Don't get into Neon. Don't do anything that guy does. Buffoon. Bozo. The reason why he walks around with like 10 people surrounding him so he doesn't get hurt. The bozo. That's it.
Well, hey, there we have it. I can't think of a better way to wrap. Charlie, appreciate your time. I look forward to having you back on the program real soon, sir. Thank you.